Who would like to chant with me?
I can do it, Dipiji.
Okay. You can do it on your own also.
Yes. Maybe not the last few lines, but
Maybe let's. There, we are anyway doing less.
okay.
Can you see?
Yeah. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Saha Viryam Sarva Tejasvinavadhitu Ma Vidvishavahai Om Shanti 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 वासुदेवेन्द्र योगी नत्वा ज्ञानप्रदं गुरुं मुमुक्षूणामृतार्थाय तत्त्वबोधोऽभिधीयते नित्यं शुद्धं निराभासं निराकारं निरञ्जनं नित्यबोधं चिदानन्दं गुरुं ब्रह्मा नमामि.
Is some questions based on the topic we've covered so far. Before I take up the question, I want to first just repeat the whole idea, the concept, the knowledge pertaining to waking and dream for now, because we've not yet covered sleep. In Vedanta, the main principle is Atma Satyam Tat Anyat Sarvam Mithya Iti. This is something which is to be consolidated completely within one's thinking, which means that every experience that I go through, all of those experiences are classified as mithya. And mithya we have clearly understood by now, something that appears real but is not substantially, inherently real. So, for that, what is the experience that we go through? Vedanta says there are actually only, under mithya, you see one thing common, which is creation. Everything seems creation. The minute I'm an embodied being, this is nothing but creation here. Shastra says Atma alone is Satyam, everything else is Mithya. which means the entire creation that I experience is mithya. What is the nature of this creation? To further grasp it, it says there are only two things that you can boil down the entire creation to, which is everything that you see today as creation resolves back into its undifferentiated state. Its resolution back into its undifferentiated state is its unmanifest state, which we called as Karana Sharira. From the same unmanifest, it comes up as manifest. So the cycle actually is of manifestation and unmanifestation. Call it prabhavaha, means emergence from its seed form to its full expression, differentiated expression, and pralayaha or layaha. Pralaya is complete, and when it is only everyday experience of resolution, it's laya, means it's now this entire differentiation that we are seeing, it goes back into its undifferentiated existence. So that means what you see in creation as the cycle of seed and fruit and seed and fruit, and it has this time in between, and they seem to have separate existence. The seed brought about the tree, and the tree gave the fruit, and then the fruit had the seed, and they all seem to be different in creation, in time. But in Vedanta Drishti, this perception is cleared, is clarified as as whatever is seen and experienced only goes back to its non-experiential, means the word is wrong. Okay, forget non-experiential, goes back into its seed form. That seed form is what I called as latent and is also called unmanifest, and you call it laya. That means every experience has a seed form, its latent form, and it comes up into its full manifestation, goes back into its latent, comes back, and this is a cycle. The only time that you have an opportunity to bring about some change in the cycle is in its manifest state. Complete manifestation, because here your equipments are in your hand, because of which you have some amount of will over the change that you wish to bring about or change that you would like to create. So whatever is manifested, if there is some, by will, some change that we have brought, then it's that change state which has now gone back into its, mixed into its already, whatever is the residual. These are just ideas. You have to float around them. So it goes back into its latent form, seed form. That is now coming up as manifest. Change again, goes back, comes. This is it. Day and night, day and night. What you call as sleep is the unmanifestation of the creation. And what you call as waking is the manifestation of creation from its seed form. Now, just with this basic, the question is, if Sukshma Sthula Sharira are in a latent form, then how can I see and feel them? Even in deep sleep or during death, we can see the gross body. This is one of the questions. When we say in Karana Sharir, Sthula and Sukshma Sharir are in latent form, then you don't see them. In the seed, latent is the flower and the whole tree. You don't see it at that time. You see the potential there by inference. But in its seed state, you don't see the flower in the seed. You see the potential of the flower in the seed. Likely that it is going to become a tree tomorrow. So to actually take this as when it goes into the latent form, it is undifferentiated. Means you cannot now separate it's not compartmentalized there. It's not differentiated. And when you say that in deep sleep or during death, we can see the gross body, can someone pick up the error in this question? Yes, Akanksha?
We cannot see it. If we are asleep or if we are dying, then we cannot see the gross body. So others can see it, but we are still not able to see it.
Absolutely.
It's not using our eyes as sensory organs.
Absolutely. So you are not actually somebody else is noticing your body. It's their waking experience. It's not your waking experience that you see yourself sleeping as a body, or you see your dead body as a etc., whatever the words are. So the whole idea is in the sleep state as experience, not a state, call it experience. The sleep experience is an experience where this entire differentiated world, plurality that I experience, has resolved back into its undifferentiated state. Exactly like clay, a heap of clay, and a heap of clay has a potential to become many pots, etc. When they are in the state of pots and cups and glasses and saucers and etc., all made of clay, they have different names and forms and functions. As long as you are contacting them in the differentiated state, it is a particular experience. It's a specific experience. It can be pointed out as a one experience because it has a limitation. That experience is limited, has a boundary. But when all the glasses and pots and everything is broken down and it has come back to its state of clay. Now in the clay, do you see any differentiation as a heap of clay? No. That is the sleep state. But in that is the potential of all the forms and names, and as you keep modifying them, you are making as if a concrete reality. That concreteness of form, having its association with the name, this concrete experience is what you're engaging with your senses in the waking world, is in association with your gross body. In the subtle body, second question, I'm bringing both together. First question, it's okay. Yeah, better? Okay. As I complete the topic, it'll get more clearer also because they're all related to one idea, and it's a very important and essential idea to be cleared completely. Excellent. Now, in the waking state, the second statement and question is, Golakas as well as senses are involved and are active in the waking state. That means, as we have differentiated, Golakas belong to the gross body and the senses are in the subtle body. So then why is the definition of waking state, the author is only talking about the Sthula Sharira? In the class, I did mention that author is talking about the Sthula Sharira, but the idea is that it is the Sukshma Sharira which enlivens the Sthula Sharira. But the question is, why has the author not included in it if it comprises of the entire waking experience? You're not eliminating. Why has the Sukshma Sharira not, it's so important. Then why has it not been added into the definition of the Sthula Sharira, of the waking state? The first answer was because of brevity. Shastra has a unique style. It must remain as precise as possible. And in brevity, you have, like you have in mathematics, you have equations. You start with one and then second, third, fourth. So you don't go on repeating every time. In Sanskrit also it is like that. When you start applying sutras in Panini, you have this main, say, Paribhasha Sutra, and then it goes on. Then it's understood that you're carrying that sutra till the end of that topic. That is the whole way in which Shastra is communicated. That's why the student of Shastra had a lot of Medha Shakti. They developed their intellectual capabilities because there is a style to learning it. So, because he's already touched upon it, he doesn't mention it over here. But then important question that comes as a clarification next to this answer of brevity is, waking state and gross body are mentioned together in one definition of waking state. And this is probably the real question. And dream state and subtle body are mentioned together in the next. Obviously, why? Because subtle body seems to be also there in the gross body, in the expression of the waking state. Then why is it not mentioned? And in the subtle body, only the subtle body, dream state, only the subtle body is mentioned. Because in the waking state, as I said, you need the subtle body to enliven the gross body. But in the dream state, you want to answer, Akanksha?
It's so beautiful, Deepti ji. So in the waking state, if the gross body is not involved, then it wouldn't work. Like in the waking state, because your gross body is asleep, that is why the gross body is being spoken about, because it is so critical to your waking experience. Agreed that the Sukshma Sharira is enlivening the gross body, but kyunki gross body jagi hai, usi ki wajah se aapka waking experience hai. On the other hand, in the dreams, in the dream state, the gross body is asleep. So it is only the Sukshma Sharira which is at work.
Correct. Instead of sleep, the word would be unmanifest. See the whole stage of manifestation, unmanifestation. So what has happened in Karana Sharir? Sleep, what we are saying as, in the next definition, it will become clear. All three will become absolutely clear. In the sleep, what has happened? In sleep, what has happened? In sleep, the whole of waking and dream is not there. They're subtle body, gross body in unmanifest state. But as it emerges, remember Prabhavaha, creation, as it's beginning to express differentiation, at that time, not at that time, as it begins to express differentiation, the first identification is of the expression of the Sukshma Sharira, and when the Sukshma Sharira begins to trigger itself, means it's coming into differentiation with whatever was latent in yourself, and it is now beginning to express itself. It's like a dawn and a dusk time when it becomes hazy. There is some light, but there is not complete light. At that point, you are beginning to see some images, as if the subtle body is throwing images of whatever it had experienced in the waking state, but it is still not identified with the gross body. So the dream experience is entirely disconnected in the dream. As a dream experience, it is disconnected yet to this full waking form, the dream experience. Means, of course, you are still there in this body, and that is why you have to connect the three states. Who's experiencing this? That's the whole important thing. So once the dream experience has, some, like you have today, science says so many hours of REM sleep and etc., etc. Now, once the subtle body has completely, all that impression has surfaced into manifestation, subtle body has jivatvam, I, a sense of ahankar, a sense of limitation, मैं हूँ, identified completely. The indriyas activated, and the activation of the indriyas is activating the physical body, and now you are experiencing the jagat, the waking world. So subtle body is enlivening it. Therefore, it is comprehensive in the gross body, because gross body cannot function by itself. So the author doesn't need to mention the subtle body, because it's understood that without subtle body, gross body cannot function in the prakriya that has already been taken, has already been taught. But subtle body by itself is creating the dream experience, and there this gross body is not functioning. It is entirely subtle body throwing an image. It's very fascinating. It's exactly like supposing, not exactly, well, to some extent, if you want to take the example, it's not exactly at all. When in waking state, we go to do daydreaming. Some partial moment where our senses are not exactly there in the present moment, and you've started dreaming of some dunya. Though it is from this expression of the body, but your mind itself is projecting all the images. You know how children have, the best example will be the children, when girls will project their palaces and their princess world, and those chota toy world of theirs is huge for them. Now, as children, we can't perceive the adult's world also. And an adult cannot forgets what the child world was like for their own self also. It goes out of perception. So what really is the important focus on is not to give us knowledge of explanation of what is a sleep state, what is a waking state. That's not the idea of Vedanta. It wants us to understand that look at the repetitiveness of your experience. Observe the repetitiveness of your experience. There is a partial awakening of the world, which is your dream, and there is a complete awakening as if of the world, contactable, gross world. And then both of them seem to disappear. But notice, it is not a subject of just knowing. Notice who has observed the three experiences, which are so different from each other. The reality of the waking world is not applicable to the dream world. The reality of the dream world is not applicable to the reality of the waking world. And both disappear, and that is called sleep, where that is a completely different reality. And all three so distinct and different from each other. But the experience of all of them, who owns it up? You yourself. Who is this you? Are you the waker, who is now experiencing the talking and the walking world? Are you the dreamer, who experiences the dream world? Or, as he is going to say in the next thing, are you the sleeper who just says, I saw nothing, I experienced nothing, it was blackness there, khali tha, nothingness there was. How was your sleep? There was nothing there, but there was a lot of joy, ananta, sukham, anubhuyate. I experienced sukh in sleep. But the minute I dream, I can dream sukh and dukh both. I have a dream of terrible dreams. I have excellent dreams that give me happiness. They give me joy. They give me excitement. And then I have terrible dreams. They give me sorrow. They give me grief. They give me pain. And then when I wake up and I contact and I again have some things give me joy of a very different nature from what I had in the dream, in the sense that the object is now tangible to my senses, but in the dream they were all hazy. So the author is very particular, and this is Vedantic vision. He has been very specific to the vision here. Waking state means entirely when you are identified with the gross body. Gross body cannot function without the subtle body is already a taken because it's become grossified. That means piche wala to already added hai. You know how you have those funnels in management principles? I think they have this hierarchy of some hierarchy. There is labos or some hierarchy, whatever. The higher you go, the lower is added to it, something like that. So if you have grossified completely, in the sense you have a gross experience, sthula experience, then the pichla experience is already added. It enlivens it. Is that okay? Yeah? Yeah. Now, the world of inert and living is one manifest. And what is called sleep is unmanifest. This was an answer to some question. This needs the explanation that I have been giving also. So hierarchy of needs. So hopefully, the whole idea is now more clearer. What is the world really that you are experiencing? Jagat. क्या है ये जगत जो हम experience कर रहे हैं? We call it from the waking state as comprising of inert and living beings. But if you've understood the Vedantic definition clearly now, you will realize that with inert and living is actually just one group. From the standpoint of the real experiencer. Waking state. The entire waking state is actually only objects and beings. From the standpoint of being with the waking state means when I am a Deepti, then and I am talking and I am contacting the world, for me there is a subject and object because I'm already the waker Deepti. Say, I have a name and I've identified with the form, and as a name and a form I have my relations and I have my needs and I have my etc. and I have my contacts and I'm doing whatever, contacts as in contacts with the sense objects, and I am engaged in life. All of this is keeping Deepti as the subject. But if you take the very Deepti as a name and form, also part of the waking world, which is resolving in sleep also. This Deepti is not there in sleep. It's undifferentiated. In my sleep experience, I don't remember I'm Deepti. I have no experience, forget Deepti memory. I have no experience of me being Deepti. In where?
Sleep state.
In sleep state. In sleep, I have what a fascination. If our minds can be calm on all this that's happening in the Jagrata Avastha today, if we can be calm and then we can reflect on this, you would realize what a fascinating experience is this. That my entire experience, correct, Maslow's hierarchy of needs and sleep. My entire waking experience, जो दीप्ति का एक anchor है. Watch these words. My entire waking experience is centered on me being Deepti. All my morning to my night before I sleep, everything is centered around the sense of me being Deepti. These are very crucial words. Everything is centered around me being Deepti. And exactly when I've fallen off to sleep, Deepti disappeared. Wow. गायब हो गई. No experience of Deepti. There is no experience of Deepti at all. Where? In sleep. Where did it disappear? Don't worry, it's come back again tomorrow. It has come back again tomorrow. Yes. Whenever I wake up, if I wake up tomorrow, I'm back to Deepti. Yeah, till death comes. That means the continuity of the whole thing. The, if the question is how do we define what is unreal based on constant manifestation, you will have to go back few classes where we did Mithyatvam. The whole concept has been taken. Because this is now an ongoing program, you may have to start from class. Some of them have done that. Before you join live class, you may have to catch the whole thought flow. So, what was I saying?
Differentiate between real and mithya.
Hey, you said that Dipti will come back the next day when you wake up.
Yeah, of course I'll come back the next day if I'm awake. I mean, I'm sorry if I'm not dead already. So look at this. It's a very watchful experience. My whole day, and it is going to have a lot of pain. It is going to have some experiences which are going to be bring me grief. It is going to give me some joys. If I have some very close one who's not well, it is bound to give me sorrow. But if I hear of the news that the close one is better, it's going to give me joy. Keeping what in the base? Keeping the fact that Deepti is the whole perception. अगर आप दीप्ति को हटा दो वहां से, मेरे एक्सपीरियंस में अगर आप दीप्ति को हटा दो, तो अब आपका क्या एक्सपीरियंस होगा उस चीज का? The same experience of the world. Is the question clear? This Deepti is what is contacting the world. Pura perception, get the words. The whole of Deepti alone, for you, okay, Akanksha, Priyanka, Aditi, Rimjim, Arora Uncle Ji, who's there, Malini, Preeti, Anya, Divya. Imagine all of us have our own particular identities with which we are contacting the Jagat. Our world has come up with our identity. And all of us have an experience which is different of the world. But our sense of I is the same for all of us. आपका सेंस ऑफ आई, मेरे सेंस ऑफ आई में कोई फर्क नहीं है. आपका नाम कुछ भी हो, मेरा नाम कुछ भी हो, नाम भी मैं बदल लूं, क्या फर्क पड़ेगा? मेरा होने का जो एक अनुभव है कि मैं हूं, इस मेरे होने के अनुभव में क्या फर्क है आपके और मेरे में? कुछ भी नहीं है. बट आई हैव एसोसिएटेड मेरे होने का अनुभव विद दिस नेम एंड फॉर्म हैज अ ह्यूज एब्सोल्यूट सेंस ऑफ रियलिटी. यही सत्य है. दीप्ति ही सत्य है. और दीप्ति की पूरी जगत जो भी है, उसके सारे रिलेशंस, उसके सारे एक्सपीरियंसेस ही सत्य है दीप्ति के लिए. फॉर यू दे आर नॉट सत्य, बट फॉर दीप्ति इट इज सत्य. That entire experience, जो इतना few hours of waking world, thanks to the waking world's time frame also, few hours of waking world, बहुत मनन का विषय है ये, और बहुत आनंद का विषय है सोचने में. कुछ घंटों का है हमारा जागृत अवस्था जिसको हमने टाइम को ब्रेकअप किया है. In that few hours, our sense of consolidated reality is unshaken. And keep the base as me, the individual. This whole manifestation of the world is me, the person associated with the body, and that is what is called as identity, my identity. This is comprised of the waking world. This is manifest today. And this alone goes back into its unresolved state, where there is neither inert nor the experience of the living. I'll repeat this once more. Yeah, one second. Let me repeat this once more. Now, when I'm awake as a Deepti, I'm contacting the table as inert. I'm contacting the laptop as inert. I'm contacting the light as, okay, energy, but it's inert still. And I'm contacting all of you with an idea that you're all living. But all of this is presuming who? Deepti. The experience of Deepti is the steady experience. And then in the waking, I'm classifying it as inert and living. Keeping Deepti as the experiencer, I'm saying ye inert hai aur ye living hai in the waking state. But when Deepti itself is resolved in sleep, is there an inert or living differentiation there in sleep? So what is the huge shift that Vedanta makes in a person's thinking is that when I am waking up, when I call myself awake, I have identified with a name and a form, and I'm conducting in this identification with the body. I have experiences from the world. Today I will accumulate many experiences. I will judge them, I will conclude them, I will assess them, I will do something or the other. All of us will do something with our experiences. And then we carry that back. When I go to sleep, all of it is resolved into an undifferentiated state. The impression is there. And if there are very strong impressions from the waking, they spring themselves up because of the strength of that impression. They spring themselves up into a dream world because of the waking experience. And then they resolve back where I have no control. Why are the dream and the waking differentiated as two experiences? Though they seem to be alike at another point, because in dream I have no control over them. Kitna bhi ho jaye, I can't say shift the slide, please. It's a terrible scene. Can I not shift the slide? Let's shift the slide. I can't do that. But in waking, however much I think I have no control over a lot of things, I have one control, that is shift the slide. I can shift the slide. What slide? Whatever the perception is giving me joy or sorrow, I have the control to shift that perception. But in dream, I have no control over it. Very essential. So the whole world of inert and living is actually just one manifest. They're not two. They come together, like I said in the last class, they are two, like two sides of a coin. They're just two sides of a coin. And they come together and they resolve together. My differentiation of inert and living is only keeping me, the waker, name and form. Deepti is the one who's saying ye inert hai aur ye living hai. But the minute Deepti resolve हो जाती है नींद में, वो division resolve हो जाता है कि ये inert है और ये living है. That means what is actually coming up and going is not the real world there. Only the perception Deepti is coming up and Deepti is resolving. The minute Deepti comes up, expresses, manifests, it's in contact with its, the idea Deepti is in your Sukshma Sharira. As long as you think you're a limited name and form, you are going to carry this with you. It comes up. With that, you play about the world and its experiences, and then you are resolving back. Night sleep. Why does sleep come? This is fantastic, of course. Why it comes, nature's savior. What is a sleep experience? Again, as I say, Vedanta is not interested in analyzing these states to give us knowledge about these states. Vedanta is mentioning these states for us to dismiss them as mithya. We don't need to know the details of these states. Because whatever be the details, it will still be mithya. They will still be dependently real. To answer in one word question, what we define as unreal, it's the dependent real. Not based on constant manifestation, no. The dependent real is what is called mithya. Is that some clear? If you have any clarification, you can bring up. Yes, Aditi.
I'm just trying to understand. I know you said that we can only we are at our maximum manifestation when we are in the waking state, right? So that's actually where we register the fact that there are other selves of us that are watching, like what we are learning basically Atma Vidya, right? That's the only time we can understand that. So, how does the unmanifested self help us in this? I'm not understanding, like, um, isn't this where we will understand the most? So, how does
Excellent. Yeah, got your question. The question is, what is the reference point of even mentioning sleep when everything is related to waking, right? Because it's in waking that you're fully manifest and you can learn everything what you need to learn about yourself, then why bring about the sleep at all?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Because what you will learn in waking is only 1/3 of your experience. If sleep is not mentioned to you, it is you who's experiencing sleep. It is you who's experiencing dream, and it is you who's experiencing waking. If all three are given equal importance as your experience, then without mentioning the sleep, whatever knowledge you will have will be only partial, because fundamentally the knowledge is that you are not this name and form who's identified in the waking state, and you're free of it. Yes, you have to discover it in the waking state, no doubt. Excuse me. But as a reference point of recollection, how I can be free of it, sleep is an example of your experience when you're free of the waking. So Shastra brings it up as a reference point for you to connect to. It's not to establish the sleep state, but you already have a sleep experience, and it's brought up as an example to say, see, you were free over there of your identity as a name and form. Temporarily discard it. Because it is discarded temporarily by nature's cycle, you are still in a vidya of who you are. Therefore, with vidya of who you are, this temporary discarding and owning up is resolved once and for all, which means, of course, after vidya also you still have a name for others to refer to. But in your mind, the correction has happened. I'm not this limited form. Is that
okay,
clear?
yeah. So basically, in the deep, we just acknowledge the other two states that we are in, so we better understand our true nature. But they don't help us really in any other discovery, right?
No, no, they
That is,
help us. The last class I started by saying observation. See, it is the observation of the repetition of the three cycles that you come to identify the one changeless experiencer.
yeah. But when you're, but when, I mean, even
Let me,
that you discover only when you're awake, right?
yeah, you discover only when you're awake, but that much of the knowledge given in the waking, now say we have transacted that.
Yeah.
Okay. Now that's finished. Now
Right.
you know you are Atman, you are Brahman. But the minute there is going to be some news coming, and all my Atman Brahman is out of the window, because I am identified completely with a sense of reality of this me, the person, and my experience of the world. So what really happens is, unless and until I have learned to see all the three coming and going and remain with the changeless experiencer, the minute I jump in the experience, I've identified with the gross body.
Okay. I
And
understand.
that's, of course, another topic in an entirety. But get it better? So
So
sleep is
Deepti
in fact,
ji,
sorry, let me complete this.
yeah.
Sleep is in fact absolutely essential to bring, because if the reference point of sleep is not brought, we will have speculations of what Shastra is talking about. How can I be free of my name and form? Koi bhi
Yeah.
पूछेगा, what rubbish is this? Yaar? I mean, this is stupid what you're talking. Because ऐसा हो ही नहीं सकता, because none of us is ever in our waking state free of our name and form.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that sense of reality is 100%, no, 1000% for all of us, if that's the right numerical to be added. How nobody can shake our sense of reality of this world for us just because Vedanta says you're Atman. Yeah, well, okay, fine, I can accept it because I respect the teachers and I respect the Shastra. But for me, the reality is this. So unless until I reflect upon this example, it's an example, but example is not imagination. It is brought up in the.
Actually happening. Yeah.
It's exactly.
We can
So
experience
it's making you awake, making you register what is happening. Therefore, you can dismiss what is dependent on it.
Good.
And that's how you conclude it's mithya. Therefore, in mithya, you will never make the mistake of saying, nahi ho raha hai. You will never say if my close one is unwell or dying and I will say, acha dard nahi ho raha hai, and I will not have the loss of it. No, that is not knowledge. Even if you have Brahma Vidya, you have Atma Vidya, the dependent reality, whatever it is, will have its own relative value. But you cannot be mistaking that it's an absolute truth. That a person is living and going, it's the truth about all of us. Clear? Yeah, it's clear. Good. Yes, Divya?
So, Deepti, so actually, probably the sleep or the dream state is actually giving us a kind of a view about if you stop identifying yourself with the name and form, where you can be, right? Your whole probably all the dukh and all the sukh and everything can just get neutralized the moment you stop identifying yourself with that, right? So it shows you what you can, like, where is your capability, where you can achieve your most, but it's for you to understand whether you can get there or not.
According to Shastra, everybody can get there. Only difference is when you want to get there.
True. Yes.
That's all. But everybody has to get there, will get there. Otherwise, it cannot be a universal. And now it's like saying law of gravity. Whether I want to understand in details the equation or not is up to me when I want to understand, if I want to understand or not. But it's not going to change the gravity, law of gravity. In the same way, whenever I am ready to understand I am Atma, etc., etc., it can be taking long time, doesn't matter, but it has its own great relative value, along with the definite fact that it's an absolute value.
Yes, true.
So, great. So we are, let's just start the next. Is that okay? Everyone?
Yes.
There were Priyanka's questions. So is Priyanka clear? Yeah? Okay. If there's any doubt, you can get back. Because it's a very important thing. In fact, as I said before also, you see, this portion of it comes from the entire elaboration of this. More clarity when one wants, one goes to Upanishads. Mandukya Upanishad is an Upanishad which talks of the three states. Three states, three experiences is the right word. Again, the translation of states is coming down forever and ever, which is very misleading. Priyanka has brought up a good point of observation also, that why do we use the word sense, what was it, sense organ? Why do we say organs, golakas as sense organs, when it's actually just the indriyas functioning, senses? It kind of misleads the word. But the misleading of the word is a part of the translation and its limitations. That's why, as I said, most Vedanta is the language in which it is there is the best way to understand, which means Sanskrit. If the class is in Sanskrit language itself, there will be no doubts in anybody, because the word will communicate exactly what it means. But we all have difficulties because our language is changed. And we are trying to understand it in the words of the language that we use. And there will always be a limitation of that, because in the language we use, these concepts are not there. Therefore, there are no words around them. The Shastra Vidya, that's why I constantly keep adding Whichever word cannot be translated should not be translated. If we don't understand, no problem, but better understand them in the term in which it is used. In time, we will understand. It's our language. Why will we not understand? What's so difficult in understanding? Indriya is Indriya. It is only to explain to the Westerners that we have to bring in sense objects, sense organs. Because Indriya word, अब सूक्ष्म शरीर उनको subtle body कहो, अब subtle body, and you know how it goes off. Is that clear? Yeah? Okay, so we'll move on. Now we'll just start today so that we can conclude somewhere tomorrow. I'll repick the topic. We have just a few minutes more I will take. What is deep sleep? Atha sushupti avastha ka, the student's asking. Ka is the feminine term because sushupti is feminine. So atha, and now the question is, what will you call sushupti? So what was the waking? He gave the definition. What is dream? He gave the definition. Now what is sushupti is the definition, and it's a beautiful definition again like the other two. Aham kimapi na janami. This should be quote unquote. Iti mein jab word aayega, that means the whole thing is a quote unquote of the experience that we are narrating, we are talking about. Aham kimapi na janami. I did not know anything. Aham, I, kimapi, kuch bhi nahi. Na janami, do not know. Moreover, sukhena maya, by me, maya is by me, it's a passive tone. By me, sukhena, I got experienced. By me, sukh nidra anubhuyate. Anubhuyate. Sukhena anubhuyate. By me was experienced sukh. Where? In nidra. Now look at the definition. Can anybody, what is your first impression of the, let me finish this. Iti, in this manner, means this is the quote. What is Sushupti Avastha? This is the quote. That's all the definition is. Means each one is saying the same thing. Aham kimapi na janami. I did not know anything over there. But by me, Anand was experienced in sleep. Iti Sushupti Avastha. What is your first impression of this now? Statement.
Passive statement.
Correct, passive statement.
And I being the important word, as in, who is I then if I don't know anything?
Absolutely, perfect. Absolutely correct. Who is the I if I did not know anything there? I am saying I did not know anything. Absolutely, the Vedanta khatam ho gayi. I am saying, this is, look at us using so casually the terms. We are saying, in sleep I did not know anything. Who did not know anything? Who did not experience anything? But yet you say I experienced. You say I had nothing there, and yet I experienced Sukh. Gives another very big clue. In fact, you're arriving at it yourself. So what is the next clue that you get out of this statement?
When you don't identify with yourself, you are in Sukh.
Excellent. That means Sukh is, when you don't identify with anything, you're already in Sukh. That means Sukh is your?
Sukh is your true state.
Absolutely. Sukh is your nature. Perfect. Correct. Name and form did not know anything. Absolutely. Correct. So whatever Sukh you call as Sukh with your name and form is what?
Temporary. Mithya.
Excellent. Mithya. Wow. I am enlightened today. For sure. Excellent. Excellent. Wonderful. That means whatever Sukh I'm getting in my Jagrat Avastha, jisko bhi main Sukh bolu, that Sukh is not by nature. That Sukh is temporary, dependent, mithya. And so also then follows what? The other side of the coin of Sukh is? Dukh. So also is Dukh. Both of them by nature become mithya. So my entire Jagrat Avastha and its experiences are dissolved away into anubhuyate sukha maya. I experience sukh, but my thing is that I do not know that my nature is sukh. I am not aware that my nature is sukh. Because the minute I am aware that my nature is sukh, correct. The minute I become aware that my nature is sukh, what is that called?
Enlightenment.
In other words,
Moksha.
absolutely, all of you, perfect. Absolutely. The minute I know my nature is sukh, will I be running after these chota mota lollipop sukhs of the world? खाने का सुख, देखने का सुख, सुनने का सुख, इसका सुख, उसका सुख, उसकी वेरिफिकेशन का सुख, उसकी एक्नॉलेजमेंट का सुख, उसको मुझे वो मुझे एक्सेट्रा 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 will मतलब that dependent happiness, can you identify, and the value we give to it? Yes, if I get it, wonderful, but the amount of value we give to it, because of which we say I am so miserable, etc., that is the Sushupti Avastha. I will touch upon this more tomorrow. We'll and then do all three again so that we consolidate the topic. Then next week we start with his next part, which is Panchakoshatitaha. That is Atma. And all these are something that are all in experience already. We have only misjudged them. We have miscalculated them, or we have misappropriated them. That is the right word. We have just misplaced them. Those experiences just have got mixed up. So we'll continue tomorrow. And Priyanka?
ॐ सर्वेषां स्वस्तिर्भवतु सर्वेषां शान्तिर्भवतु सर्वेषां पूर्णं भवतु सर्वेषां मङ्गलं भवतु सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः सर्वे सन्तु निरामयाः सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत् ॐ स्वस्ति प्रजाभ्यः परिपालयन्ताम् न्यायेन मार्गेण महीं महिषा गोब्राह्मणेभ्यः शुभमस्तु नित्यम् लोकाः समस्ताः सुखिनो भवन्तु काले वर्षतु पर्जन्यः पृथिवी सस्यशालिनी देशोऽयं क्षोभरहितः ब्राह्मणाः सन्तु निर्भयाः ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्ति
You, yes, okay.